Hi Sagittarians, welcome and thank you for joining me. I'm Lunarcraft from Psychic Truth and I'll be delivering this week's AstroTarot indications. And as usual, I'll be focusing on a particular sign of the zodiac or giving details of the general trends, then moving on to look at how those may well impact on you, Sagittarius. And then finally, drawing 3 tarot cards and interpreting the messages they contain for you. As has been the picture this year so far, the heavens have been extremely active, and although there are slightly fewer events this week, the moon that triggers most of the planetary behaviours is still very, very active. Just to summarise and give a flavour of this week's events, there's a total of 24 events, with 22 of those involving the moon. So once again, I'm faced with a very long list of things to consider. Never one to back down from a challenge. I've decided that this week I will give highlights of what to be aware of, starting with all of us feeling courageous and resourceful, open and endowed with great willpower. Additionally, we're feeling happy and keen to socialise. And why not? We've been cooped up for so long. It's a time to meet up with people that you've maybe not had the opportunity to see for quite some time. But there's also scope for you to meet new people, and they could well prove to be helpful to you in the near future. If you are undertaking any form of study or training, there's supportive energy being given by Mercury. And at the same time, Mercury is also improving our mental faculties. I will briefly focus on the moon and point out that it starts the week in Aquarius, bringing humanitarian thoughts to the front of our minds. The moon reaches its first quarter towards the end of this week, and it marks the halfway point between the full moon, or rather the new moon, and the upcoming full moon. And it's a really, really good time to check on the progress that's being made towards the achievement of your goals. The moon then moves into Cancer, and that brings us important and comforting thoughts about home, about security, rest, and indeed family. Then the final day of the week, the moon moves into Leo, and this is where our confidence comes from. We're also very keen to express ourselves and our desires. And alongside that, we're probably feeling quite flirty and looking for pleasure and enjoyment. So linking back to that increased desire to socialise. So those are the general influences for you, Sagittarius. Now look at what's in store for your star sign this week. You are another one of the Livewire signs. You're part of the group of fire signs. It makes you extremely popular with people around you. You have the ability to change your approach to things, and that makes it that you really appeal to people. They trust you. They love the way you approach anything. I was going to say problems, but it's not just problems. You are a superb problem solver. Also, your ruling planet is Jupiter. Jupiter is probably the largest of all the planets. Jupiter brings joy and great gifts spiritually and materially. Oh, excuse me, sorry. I've read somewhere, can't remember where, but it said that you are obsessed with self-improvement. Now, I don't see that as a detrimental thing at all. In fact, if anything, it's inspirational for people who are around you. And you can be, and very often will be, the friendliest person at any gathering, whether that be a party, a celebration, or indeed the workplace. You do have a tendency to speak your mind, share your version of the truth, and I'm not saying that is wrong, but you do tend to use it like a club at times, particularly if you've got a stubborn individual who thinks they know it all. You will keep on until they concede and take on your views as well. Okay, so interesting week ahead for you, but it's all within your capabilities. Now, I've just picked up my cards because it's time now to select 3 cards and have a look at what messages they contain for you. Okay. Two, and that one, 3. Right, let me turn these over, see what we've got. Oh, okay. Right, starting off, you've got the 5 of Pentacles. That very often indicates that you could be feeling or experiencing feelings of being closed out of things, of feeling that you've been ignored. It's not the case at all. People may close ranks when they're around you because they want to make sure that they are united. No, this is starting to sound like a battle, but it's not. They want to know that they will have your approval. Plain and simple. You are a very open, very optimistic person. You are generous to a fault at times. But just beware, particularly now that socializing is picking up, not everyone presents a true image of themselves. A lot of people have a public facade and a private person. That doesn't apply to you so much. You tend to be pretty even in whatever situation you find yourself in. Now, your final card, I used to call it the gloating card. It's the 9 of Cups. Oh, I've done it again. The previous card was the 7 of Swords. The one where, just be a little bit canny about who is around you. The 9 of Cups, as I said, I used to refer to it as the gloating card. I don't anymore, because the guy in the card, if you look at it, is very pleased with himself. He's pleased with what he's achieved. He is celebrating his success, and at the same time he's planning on, what do I do next? Where do I go next? What do I move on to do? So that's the situation that I'll stick my neck on the block for. You will find yourself in that situation at least once during this coming week. Okay, that's it for the AstroTarot for this week. Hi Capricorns, welcome and thank you for joining me. I'm Lunarcraft from Psychic Truth, and I'll be delivering this week's AstroTarot indications. And as usual, I'll be focusing on a particular star sign, while giving details of the general trends, astrologically speaking, and then moving on to look at how those could well impact on you, Capricorn. And finally, I'll be drawing 3 tarot cards and interpreting the messages that they contain. As has been the general picture this year so far, the heavens have been extremely active, and although there are slightly fewer events this week, the moon that triggers most of the planetary behaviours is still extremely active. Just to give you a flavour of that, we've got 24 events in total this week, and 22 of those involve the moon. So again, I'm faced with a very long list to think about. I'm never one to shirk a challenge, so I've decided I'll give the highlights of what to be aware of, and I'm going to start off with all of us feeling courageous, resourceful, open, and endowed with great willpower. Additionally, we're feeling rather happy and keen to socialise. And why not? The weather's improving in the Northern Hemisphere. Winter, they say, is virtually behind us. It's a time to be getting out, getting used to having some freedom again. A chance to meet up with people that perhaps we've lost contact with over the past year or two. There's also a very strong possibility that you could be meeting up with new people. And there's an even chance that those new people will prove to be useful to you in the future. Also, if you're undertaking any form of study or training, there's supportive energy being given by Mercury, along with a boost to our mental faculties. Now, I'm going to briefly focus on the moon and point out that at the beginning of the week, it resides in Aquarius, and that brings humanitarian thoughts to the front of our minds. The moon reaches its first quarter towards the end of this week, and that marks the halfway point between the new moon and the next full moon. And it's a really, really good time to check the progress that's being made towards your goals. The moon moves into Cancer a little bit later on, and it brings us important but very comforting thoughts of home, of security, rest, and indeed family. On the final day of the week, the moon moves into Leo, making us feel once again confident and keen to express ourselves and indeed our desires. But alongside that, we're also feeling quite flirty and looking for pleasure and enjoyment, which links back to the increased desire to socialise. So, there's the general influences, Capricorn. Now let's look at what's in store for your star sign this week. Just on a general point, you are a member of the group of Earth signs. In fact, you are the cardinal Earth sign, which means you're very much into coming up with ideas, original ideas. But not just that, but you put effort into implementing those. Also, your ruling planet is Saturn. Now, Saturn is, in my opinion, one of the sternest of all the planets and celestial bodies. Saturn brings life lessons, and it's also reflected for you because you have had a very adult approach to life, probably since about the age of 6. You know, you'd be described as an old soul. But it's made you a really, really good friend. The friend who is responsible. And by that I mean you can get in touch with people to check that things are all right, or indeed, do they need any help? One of your big motivators is duty, doing what is right when it needs to be done. You don't shirk it, you don't shy away from it, you roll your sleeves up and get stuck in. Now, this is going to come out sounding a little bit strange, but you take a while to warm to new people. It's not because you distrust, it's not because you are antisocial, but you like to take your time to truly get to know someone. Also, being the cardinal earth sign that you are, emotion really doesn't feature much in your life. That's not to say that you're void of emotions, far from it. But unlike the water signs, you don't allow emotions to get in the way of your progress. Perhaps there's a lot that us water signs could learn from you. Okay, so that's it for the astrology aspects. Let's have a look now at 3 tarot cards that I'm going to draw out purely at random, and then I'll look at what we've got and pass on any messages that they want transmitted to you. So the 3 cards that I've selected, just looking at them, getting a feel for them. Right, okay. The first one to be turned over is the 8 of Cups. Not a bad card. It's a signal that things are going to get a lot easier, a lot more pleasant to navigate. So move forward with confidence, with joy, in fact. And very closely related to that is the second card, which is the 10 of Swords. And again, it's showing, although it looks grotesque, it's actually indicating that better times are on their way. Things will improve. They will be a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, guides. A lot more comfortable. A lot more comfortable. It's all right, my guides keep saying it. Okay, and your third card is the Knight of Pentacles. Now, of all the knights, he's the least active, or apparently the least active. He's actually the protector of the tarot deck. He patrols the borders, if you like. He wants to make sure that everything that needs to be put in place is in place. And I tend to think of building a house, for example, and putting in good, strong foundations upon which further growth can be built, further bricks can be laid, and you will be confident that they'll hold everything that you need. So, all in all, it's definitely an improving situation. So, not too bad a week shaping up for you. And that's it from me for the AstroTarot. Hi Aquarians, welcome and thank you for joining me. I'm Lunarcraft from Psychic Truth, and I'll be delivering this week's AstroTarot indications, for the coming week. And as usual, I'll be focusing on a particular sign of the zodiac, while giving details of the general trends, then moving on to look at how those could impact on you, Aquarius. And finally, I'll be drawing 3 tarot cards and interpreting the messages they contain for you. As has been the picture this year so far, the heavens have been extremely active, and although there are slightly fewer events this week, the moon that triggers most of the planetary behaviours are plentiful. So, just to give you a flavour of what's going on this week, there are 24 events in total, and of those, 22 involve the moon. So, I am faced yet again with a very long list to consider. I never want to, run away from a challenge. So, what I've decided I'll do this week is I'll give the highlights or headlines of what to be aware of. And I'll start out with all of us feeling courageous, resourceful, open, and endowed with great willpower. As well as that, we are feeling happy and keen to socialise. We've been cooped up for far too long. We've lost touch with people. Now that the better weather is coming in, so they tell us, then, let's get out there. Let's start meeting and greeting people again. And there's even the opportunity for you to meet new people who could well prove to be very helpful to you in the near future. If you are undertaking any form of study or training, there's supportive energy being given by Mercury, along with an improvement in our mental faculties, again, courtesy of Mercury. However, I will briefly focus on the moon and point out that it starts the week in Aquarius. And that brings humanitarian thoughts to the front of our minds. The moon reaches its first quarter towards the end of this week and marks the halfway point between the new moon and the next full moon. It's a really, really good time to check the progress that's being made towards achieving your goals. The moon moves into Cancer, and it brings with it important and comforting thoughts of home, of security, rest, and indeed family. Then on the final day of this week, the moon moves into Leo and again gives us that boost of confidence and a keenness to express ourselves and our desires. On top of all that, we're probably feeling quite flirty and looking for pleasure and enjoyment. And that links back to the increase in socialising. So those are the general influences, Aquarius. Now let's look at what's in store for your star sign this week. First off, you are a member of the group of air signs, which means that you have a keen mind and a very vivid imagination. You tend to be somewhat fixed with your views, and you can be quite, I don't want to use the word stubborn, but I can't get beyond that. Your ruling planet is Uranus, and Uranus is an active planet albeit a slow-moving planet, but it brings change. That's its main purpose. Also, you tend to be drawn to esoteric topics, subjects. You do that purposefully because you see it as preparing you to live the best life that you can. You are very much a broad brushstroke sort of person. You don't tend to do feelings, more that you rely on concepts. You tend not to challenge those either. Another thing that you do believe in are conspiracy theories. You make links between situations, between circumstances, between events that may or may not be accurate. But there it is. That's you. And what you're probably best known for is that you care about people as a whole. You're not so interested in individuals. You'd much rather do things that will help masses. You also value your personal freedom. You do not like to be caged or restricted in any way. And that is very, very important to you. So things for you to bear in mind, especially now that we're going to be doing a lot more socializing than we've probably been able to do for at least 2 years. So there's times when you may well feel as if you are out on a limb. The only one who feels like that, I can assure you, you won't be. You won't be the only person. Okay, I've just picked up my cards. I'm now going to choose 3 and have a look and see what messages they hold for you. Oh, right down at the bottom. Yeah, it is true. Okay, let's have a look, see what we've got. Ooh, nice. Okay. Very good. The first card to be turned over is the Star. Now, the Star comes with several meanings, and I'm just trying to determine what applies to you. Okay, all right. What my guides, in fact, want me to say to you is, don't be afraid. Be prepared to take a risk, albeit a well-considered risk. I'm not suggesting you leap out of aeroplanes without a parachute, heavens above. But it's also that no harm will come to you, no intentional harm will come to you, because you are under the protection of this lucky star. So that should hopefully fill you with confidence, so you're not afraid to give new things a try. Now, the middle card is the 5 of Cups, and it's very much about focusing on the positives rather than going along with whatever doesn't feel right, isn't going right. The reason that becomes so important is that you actually attract things based around your prevalent thought patterns. So if you're thinking positively, you'll get lots of positive things coming your way. And the more that arrive, the more grateful you will be, and the number will increase again. However, if you focus on things that aren't working, or periods of loss, or you spilt milk and you're crying over it, that is what you will get back in return. More of the same. So if you want to improve your life, if you want happiness, then it's within your grasp. And then finally, you've got the Knight of Swords. Now, he is absolutely wonderful, particularly for you as you're an earth sign, because the swords are earth cards. It's all about using your considerable store of intelligence, exercising the grey matter, putting things in place to benefit not just you, but people around you as well. Okay, so that's it from me for this week. Hi Pisceans, welcome and thank you for joining me. I'm Lunarcraft from Psychic Truth, and I'll be delivering this week's AstroTarot indications. And as usual, I'll be focusing on a particular sign of the zodiac while giving details of the general trends, before moving on to look at how those may impact on you, Pisces. And finally, I'll be drawing 3 tarot cards and interpreting the messages they contain for you. As has been the picture this year so far, the heavens have been extremely active, and although there are slightly fewer events this week, the moon, that triggers most of the planetary behaviours, is still extremely active. Yeah. So just to give you a flavour of what is going on, there are 24 events in total, and the moon is involved in 22 of these. So yet again, I'm faced with a very long list to consider. Never want to run away from a challenge. I have decided that this week I'll give the highlights of what to be aware of. And I'm going to start off by saying we are all going to be feeling courageous, as though we could take on and win against the world. We're resourceful, we're open and endowed with great willpower. As well as that, we're feeling happy and keen to socialise, meeting up with people that we've lost touch with over the past couple of years. But there's also the scope to meet with new people, and these new people could well prove to be very helpful to you in the near future. If you are doing any form of study or training, Mercury is giving you supportive energy, along with a boost in your mental faculties. I will briefly focus on the moon and point out that it starts the week in Aquarius, and that will tend to bring humanitarian thoughts to the front of our minds. Also, the moon reaches its first quarter phase towards the end of the week, and that marks the halfway point between the new moon and the next full moon. That makes it a really, really good time to check the progress that's being made towards achievement of your goals. The moon moves into Cancer shortly afterwards, and it brings us important and comforting information and thoughts about home, security, rest, and indeed family. On the final day of our week, the moon moves into Leo, and again it makes us feel confident and keen to express ourselves and our desires. Alongside of that, we're probably feeling quite flirty and looking for pleasure and enjoyment, so linking back to the increase in socialising. It's something we're out of practice with, but I dare say we'll get back into it. So, those are the general influences, Pisces. Now let's look at what's in store for your star sign this coming week. Now, you are the final star sign of the zodiac. You are a member of the group of water signs. You're the more flexible of all the water signs. You're not quite so bothered by emotions as, say, Cancer would be, but your flexibility is a great asset. Your ruling planet, Neptune, is active in your chart currently, and it has to be said that Neptune gives you some really strong traits. And I was saying about a star sign before that was deemed to be an old mind. That isn't levelled at you, although you can be both age 5 and 50 years old at one and the same time. There's a playfulness about you, a fun-loving side of you. You have a remarkable sense of humour that you use very, very effectively. You're also adept at recognising signs, and you actually consciously look for signs. And going on from that, you make sense of those signs and you use it to shape where you're going, where you're heading. But you are one of the star signs that is a great dreamer. And often you're not absolutely sure whether something really did happen or if you dreamt it. You are very romantic when you want to be. You can also ignore some of the signals that may be given to you. You have a fantastic imagination, and you can use it to create fantasies, stories. You are an excellent storyteller. You're one of the star signs that is very, very open. Very few boundaries, whereas Cancer, your fellow water sign, tends to have firm boundaries. But you do have boundaries, but they're not fixed. That's the difference. Okay, so a few things for you to think on. It's now time for me to draw out 3 tarot cards and see what messages they contain for you. So, 1 and 2, and oh no, I've got a clump of 5 all wanting to come and play. I'm not having that. No, I want one of you. Okay, it's that one. Okay, let's have a look and see what we've got. Oh dear. All right, no, that's not bad. Okay, right, so the first card turned over is the Tower. Now, very often the Tower foretells of something serious, disastrous, catastrophic going to happen. However, balancing it with the other cards around it, or beside it, this is very appropriate for this time of the year because we're coming into spring. And this is urging you to use spring as a reason to have a clear out. Get rid of things that may have built up over the past year, 2 years. We're moving forwards. We're learning new things. We're experiencing new events. So, in order to truly benefit from that, the message is get shot of anything that is dead weight, because that will free up space for you to develop in different areas. The next card, the one in the middle, is the 9 of Wands, and that always makes me think of someone who is taking stock. But more than just taking stock, it's moving forwards. It's looking at how what you've gained can be used to your advantage, but also to start making plans, making goals that you can work towards. And then finally, one of the happy family cards. This is the 10 of Pentacles, and it is all about the family, the security of that family, the unity within the family, and knowing that should it be needed, the family will always be there to offer you support, or any other family member should they need it. It is a truly wonderful card. Okay, that's it for the AstroTarot. But while I've got you here, I'd like to just give a quick reminder that I also do mini tarot card readings, 3 cards. That goes out live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday starting at 9 AM GMT, that is, and it runs for an hour. The crowd that's growing is wonderful. So if you're able to take some time out, grab a cup of coffee or whatever it is you drink, come along, join in the fun. And it is fun. The energy that flows around that group is phenomenal. It's so positive. People ask questions. I get through as many questions as I possibly can, but I do refer to it as the quickest hour of the week. But why don't you put forward a question? See if you're one of the ones who gets chosen. And see how it goes. See what happens. Suss us out. Suss it out. Suss me out, even. Oh, and before I forget, okay, stop nagging. My guides are there as well. They come along to give their help, their assistance, their advice. Is that enough? Good. Okay. They were frightened I was going to leave them out. But no, I wouldn't. So, that is finally it from me. I wish you a fabulous week. I'll be back next week, same place, same time, and I truly hope that you will be able to join me. But for now, all that's left for me to say is bye-bye.